This week on CNBC Sport, the podcast, UConn women's basketball coach Geno Auriemma joins me in studio to chat about a new documentary on the college basketball dynasty he's built in his 41 years as UConn head coach, including his thoughts on his rivalry with the legendary Pat Summitt.
We were more alike than people realize, or we wouldn't have reached the heights that we've reached.
If his tough love leadership style would carry over into the business world.
People like to be held accountable. People like to think that you have high expectations for them. People like when you say, is that the best you can do?
And why he thinks no one should be talking about transgender issues in the WNBA.
I don't know of any trans players in the league. I don't know any that have tried to play in the league and have been denied playing in the league. It's an issue that has been made an issue that's a non-issue.
That's all coming up next this week on CNBC Sport, the podcast. I am honored to be joined by arguably the greatest women's basketball coach of all time, Geno Auriemma, 12 national championships. Do you think you're the greatest women's basketball coach of all time?
No, I've won more than anybody else, but I don't think I'm the best coach. I know a lot of people that are really, really, really good that I wish I was that good.
There you go. So one or two names come to mind there among your idols?
The people that I grew up watching?
Yeah, sure. Or present day.
You know, guys like Hubie Brown, Dean Smith.
This is overall basketball
Greg
coaching.
Popovich. Yeah. And in women's basketball, I saw the way back in those days, Pat Summitt and Kay Yao and Leon Barmore, like the real kind of people that began all this stuff. Kathy Rush being Philadelphia, being from there. Yeah, there were a lot of great coaches that I grew up. I was fortunate to grow up in Philadelphia and be around that many great coaches.
So Apple just released a documentary about the UConn Dynasty. Excellent documentary. I want to get into that. I have a bunch of questions about the documentary in a minute, but I want to start with sort of the state of women's basketball, because it seems like every cable news channel these days is talking about the WNBA. And so I think there's like maybe nobody better to ask about this than you, because you've been around the game for decades. You've seen the progression of the game of the WNBA. You have relationships with players in the WNBA. To me, it seems like you could be in one of two camps. You could either say, this is great, look at all the attention finally on the WNBA, or you could say, man, this game has become politicized in this warped way. This is not good. Yeah. Which camp do you fall in?
Well, if you look back a few years, they were craving attention and desperate for attention. Fast forward now, they're getting all the attention they ever wanted. The unfortunate thing, and you alluded to it, is people have hijacked it, and it's become whatever station you watch, whatever point of view you want to take, you're going to have an opinion on what's going on in the WNBA. And you're right. Wow, isn't that great? Well, not if you're not talking about the game itself, not if you're not talking about the brilliance of the individual players, the teams that are playing incredible basketball. If you're not talking about that, then no, the kind of attention that is being thrown at the WNBA, no, that's not the kind of attention that you want for women's sports. You don't see that in other sports. So you have to kind of say why. I mean, I guess you can answer that question, but that would take like another whole series.
Well, is there anything from your seat? Is there anything that WNBA Commissioner Kathy Engelbert can do about it?
People think that a commissioner can control each individual player or coach or influencer or anybody that has anything to say about the game. And really, they can't. But I think what you can do is you can constantly reiterate to the players and to all the stakeholders, how do we want to be perceived? How do we want to come across? We all want to be honest. We all want to be authentic. We all want to be truthful and stand up for what we believe in. You know, we've done that at UConn for the 41 years that I've been there. There's got to be a way to get your message across that's different. And maybe that is something that the commissioner can do, is why don't we talk about the message that we want to put out there? Why don't we talk about that part of the game that people really, really are coming to watch. Nobody's coming to watch another protest movement. Nobody's coming to watch another political statement. They're not. They're coming to watch a basketball game.
The issue of the moment is this sort of issue about transgender athletes. And so Cunningham came out and said, obviously, women's basketball is for women. And I know you've made statements before generically about how women and men probably shouldn't end up playing together. Obviously, the trans issue is a little different. Is that an issue that women's basketball players should be talking about?
No, I don't know of any trans players in the league. I don't know any that have tried to play in the league and have been denied playing in the league. So it's an issue that has been made an issue that's a non-issue. It doesn't exist. I don't know any other way to put it. At the basic level, you just want fairness. But who do you want fairness for? You want fairness for everybody. And I don't know whether that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about accusing someone or some entity of something that doesn't exist right now.
Yeah, the discussion is purely hypothetical.
Hypothetical. How do you solve a hypothetical? I don't know. No one's ever made a decision on it. So you can't go back and say, this was unfair or this was fair. It's hypothetical. It's like the people that complain about the Odyssey isn't authentic. How do you know? It's myth.
Right. Let's talk about the documentary a little bit. You made a decision. You talk about it in the documentary early on. A buddy of yours, you say, convinced you to be an assistant coach on a women's basketball team, and that's how you got into coaching women's basketball. But you made a decision, obviously, to stick with it for many decades. Why? Why did you decide this is what I want to do with my life?
Well, it's true. I did finally give in and decided to do it at the high school level. But after a couple of years, I left to go coach high school boys. And I thought, yeah, this is what I'm going to end up doing. I'm going to probably end up coaching. It's not something I normally set out to do, but I'm going to probably end up doing it. And I have to teach, which is fine. And I was an athletic director just because I coached.
But you were thinking then that it would be boys that you would coach.
Oh, for sure. And then again, I think I like to say I'm a victim of circumstances, someone came into the picture, Debbie Ryan at the University of Virginia, asked Phil Martelli, who I was working for, come be my assistant. And Phil goes, nah, but I think I got a guy that you might want to talk to. And sends me down there to talk. And I said, what's the worst that can happen? I come down here. I'm not any good, or I don't like it. I go back to Norristown and do my thing. That's another example of fate just tapped me on the shoulder and said, you're the guy for that job. And I went there, and the rest is the rest.
But there must have been something that you discovered upon taking the job at UConn where you're like, this fits me.
Yeah, I think those 4 years at UVA were probably the most important years of my coaching career because of what I experienced down there. Growing up in the Philadelphia area, what I knew was those Big Five schools and what they look like and how they played. And everybody from Philly thinks they invented basketball, So when we got down to UVA, I saw a whole different world. I saw a whole different way that the game was coached and the way the game was played. And here I am, I'm at games and I'm sitting on the court and, our men are playing North Carolina. I'm watching Jordan and Perkins. Coach K's coaching, Coach Valvano's coaching. It's Lefty Drizel's coaching. And I'm like, this is how you do it. It's not about just coaching. It's about recruiting and putting together a program. And I said, someday I want to do that. Someday I want to be able to do that. And the UConn thing opened up and I went up there and tried to do all the things that I learned those 4 years when I was down at UVA.
The documentary spends a lot of time dissecting your style of coaching. Did you feel like, so that for those that have not seen it, I would say your reputation is one of being very demanding, hypercritical, and maybe even to the point of sort of emotionally breaking down some of your players, including the star players, to try to get the most out of them and to make them battle tested. Was that an accurate portrayal?
There's always two sides to every story, right? There's my side, there's the side that you're going to watch on TV, and then there's the truth somewhere in the middle.
I thought what you said was always the truth. That's the first line of the documentary.
Yeah, the truth is in the middle somewhere. I never, and I think this is different. I think this was different in the sense that maybe because of the experience that I had and being a man in a woman's game, the experience that I had growing up, the coaches that I had growing up, maybe because I had to coach high school girls basketball, high school boys basketball, and start at the beginning. I always thought that coaching college kids should be no different, that you're trying to teach them not just how to play the game, you're trying to teach them how to win, you're trying to teach them how to sacrifice for each other, how to be a great teammate, how to be a great person, how to be something beyond just, I'm a basketball player. You're a parent almost. You spend more time with other people's kids than you do with your own kids. And I never wanted to differentiate between, well, you're coaching women, you shouldn't demand this. I'm coaching guys, well, you can demand that then. I thought that would be disrespectful. So I coached them the way I thought great players should be coached. And, breaking down a player. What's breaking down a player? I think any parent, any teacher, when you walk in there, the first thing they're going to do is size you up and go, okay, what's your potential? If your potential's this, what am I going to do? Get you to here? I don't think so.
So I think based on listening to the interviews of many of the players that are in that documentary, the point they're making, though, is that the way you go about lifting their potential is living in this constant phase of being, in their language, pissed off.
Yeah.
And so I'm wondering, as you live in your body, do you ever think to yourself, man, I just want to turn down the dial here? Like, this is uncomfortable for me. Like, I don't want to be pissed off all the time.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to play for me. No question about it. But in another world, I would want to play for me. Because how do you know when you've got enough from somebody if you stop, if you accept that this is it? This is where we're going to be with you. I never knew what that was. So I want to find out. And then I'll know. We'll both know, me and you, we've reached the end.
Have you had to alter that at all in this world of NIL and the transfer portal, where you think to yourself, if I push this person too hard, they're going to be out the door next year?
No, I've never thought that. If you came to play at UConn, you came for the challenge. And now here's the challenge. And if you're here and you don't like being held to that standard every day, then maybe it's the best thing for you if you leave.
Are there specific traits in recruits that you are looking for where in your mind you're thinking, this is a player that will respond to me? Like, is there something about the player where you're like, yeah, this will work?
Sometimes you can tell. Other times, kids may surprise you. You really, really don't know until you get them on campus and you spend a couple weeks, a month, 2 months, and now you start to see what motivates this kid, what makes this kid go. And they keep giving you things to work with, and you keep digging in there and pulling it out and pulling it out. And some kids are really, 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 really receptive to that. And they use that as fuel to go. And others show you by their actions, I can't get there, coach.
Another topic the documentary spends a decent amount of time on is Pat Summitt, your rivalry with Pat Summitt, your relationship with Pat Summitt. You mentioned a couple minutes ago how you are obviously a man in a women's game. Was that ever awkward for you when you rose to the level of the top where you thought, you know what, there's some people in this game that probably wish that I wasn't a man?
Some? Yeah, obviously that's entered my mind, and that's a fact of life. It is what it appears to be. I do it differently. I come across it differently. I was much different than Pat on the outside, appearance-wise. I'm a man, she's a woman. I'm from where I'm from, the Northeast in Italy, and she's from the South. We have our own unique way of doing things. But the perception that Pat was this ladylike figure who never raised her voice, no, that's a fallacy. We were more alike than people realize, or we wouldn't have reached the heights that we've reached.
Did she try to hide it better?
Oh, she hid it much better. 100% better. Yeah. From people who didn't know her, especially.
Right. Sure.
But if you knew her and you knew the fire that was burning in there, and or the way she wanted to motivate her players, yeah, it was just different.
The documentary dances around your relationship with her, but I wanted to ask you directly, like in hindsight, what, like you hear Pat Summitt and you think what?
We wouldn't have been able to do some of the things that we did if they didn't exist. If Pat wasn't Pat, then some of the things that we wanted to do maybe wouldn't have meant as much. I always thought of it as a Ali Frazier thing. Everybody needs someone that's pushing them to be better. And everyone always came at Pat because Pat was the standard. But they all fell by the wayside one at a time. And when we got there, we're not going anywhere. We're not backing off. And we just kept going and going and going. That didn't sit right with a lot of people. Maybe if I had been nicer, or if I had a different personality, we are what we are and can't apologize for it.
Well, when she stopped coaching, did you feel like a little bit of your competitive fire got extinguished when she wasn't there anymore?
I saw a great documentary on on John McEnroe and how pissed he was when Bjorn Borg retired. I don't know if anybody saw that, but you should watch it.
And he retired early.
Yeah. And McEnroe on the documentary was like, how can he do that to me? Like take it personal because I need that. It was different. Yeah. Without Pat, without playing them, without knowing you're going to have to play them in the NCAA tournament, I don't know that it stopped being as fiery, my fire, because we won a lot of championships afterwards. Yeah, probably a little bit of it. It became less because it had gotten too big, though. It had become Geno and Pat, and nobody wanted that. It needed to be Connecticut, Tennessee.
So you mentioned you won a lot. And then the third part of the documentary series talks about the last 10 years where the winning stopped until last year.
Mm-hmm.
Can you pinpoint why?
Yeah. Part of it is, I don't know if people realize, because we did it so many times, that it's almost a birthright. You go to Connecticut, you win a national championship, you have a parade. Since 2000, in 25 years, we've been to 22 Final Fours? So it became like it's automatic. Well, it was never easy. And then it all caught up how much luck you need to win the whole thing. So the players that you need to win need to stay healthy. The players that you need to win, there needs to be more than one or two of them. So all that conspired against us for about a buzzer beater in 2016-17, a buzzer beater the following year to lose in the Final Four, a great player going down with a season-ending injury 3 or 4 years in a row. And 2025 was the first year where we were all healthy for the whole season. And we were lucky in that respect, and that's what happened. We won the whole thing.
In the past 5 or 6 years, South Carolina has emerged as sort of the new Tennessee in many ways, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
What is your relationship like with Dawn Staley?
She was coming out of high school when I was still in high school when I was at Virginia. And then when I came to UConn, we played them in the 1991 Final Four, which is crazy. And then I was an assistant coach on the 2000 Olympic team that Dawn played on. And then she was my assistant on the 2016 Olympic team in Rio. All through the years, we've had a cordial relationship, so to speak. You knew that as they started getting it going, that it was going to be a problem playing against them because
why?
Because she's a really good recruiter. She's a really good coach. She can motivate her guys to play at a really high level. Yeah, Tennessee started to lose some of their magic, but South Carolina picked it right up and took their place. So you know, if we're going to win a national championship, we're going to have to play them. And it was the same thing with Notre Dame. Which is what you need. We kept the series going, and we played every single year, and we end up playing them in the finals. We end up playing them in the NCAA tournament. But as far as personal relationship, there's never been anything other than I respect her. I think she respects me. I like her. I think she likes me. We're just two really competitive people.
I mean, I ask it as a sort of a leading question, which is like, is there some parallel in your back of your mind to being like, this is the new Pat Summitt to me?
No, she's the new Geno and I'm Pat.
Oh, right. Exactly. Yes, totally.
Yeah. I kind of sit here and go, now I know how Pat felt.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
You need those. You know, Muffet, it was like that with Notre Dame. I mean, you need that. You have to have that. If you don't have that, it's not as meaningful when you win.
I alluded to the sort of the way you coach players and get the best out of them. Do you think your style is translatable outside of women's basketball to the broader workplace? Is this how you would coach leadership to any leader in any sort of professional environment?
Yes and no. I didn't coach the Olympic team the way I coach UConn, but I did, if you know what I mean. Like I couldn't do exactly the same things at that I did at UConn when I was coaching grown women on the Olympic stage. I wanted the same things. I demanded the same things. We never lost, but it was delivered differently, presented differently. And it actually made me a better college coach, coaching the Olympic team. In the real world, you can have all the things that we have at UConn. You just got to present it differently. You have to package it differently. But I wouldn't deviate from what I do at Connecticut in the real world. Not one bit.
Yeah.
Not one bit. People like to be held accountable. People like to think that you have high expectations for them. People like when you say, is that the best you can do?
But you also acknowledge that you might not want to play for you.
Yeah, because I'm never happy. I'm never satisfied. Is that a great way to go through life? Hell no. No, I don't ever think I've done enough.
I can see where you're going with this, though. So while it's maybe not the least stressful way of going through life, it may be the optimal way of maximizing your potential with something, right? Because once you're satisfied, then you stop.
That's it. I mean, there have been times when we've won the national championship and 3 days later, we're in the office having a staff meeting and I'm bitching and moaning about 10 things that happened during the NCAA tournament that I hated. Because I think if we don't fix those, we're not going to be able to win again next year. So it's never ending.
It strikes me that with that attitude, you will never retire until you forcibly can. Is that accurate?
No. Maybe because of that, I need to retire. Maybe because you can't sustain that. But as I said, people thought, that we couldn't do it in this environment. And we've proven that we can. You have to keep getting good players. I don't care who you are. I don't care what your style is. I don't care how you approach things. You have to keep getting really good players. My time as a coach will be over when we can't get really good players. And people say, well, you only win when you have the best players. Well, who wins when they have the worst players?
Does the current NIL system, though, help you in that way? In that it's a big brand, you're a big coach, the system can get behind you? Or does it undercut your reputation and coaching ability because now other schools can be like, well, we don't have Geno, but here's $3 million.
It certainly has made it more difficult. But it's funny, in this NIL era, when did it start? 2021 or 2020?
Yeah,
to whatever. We got the best player in the country in recruiting every year. And it wasn't about the money. It becomes about the money once you're there. So if somebody's looking for a certain amount of money, if you pay me this, I'll go to your school. We're not going to get that kid anyway. After you get to our school and you prove that you deserve all the money that you want, I'll give it to you. but I'm not going to give it to you just because that's how much it's going to cost me for you to come to my school. I'll pay you once you prove to me that you can do the things that we value.
I don't want to put words in your mouth, but if what you're saying is you'll retire when you stop getting the best kids to come to Connecticut, my guess is that you're going to be coaching for a lot longer.
All right, so I'm going to hire you as our general manager, assistant general manager, because we already have one. And you can tell everybody that I'm going to coach forever if you come to Connecticut. Because that's the big thing they use against us now. Well, he's not going to be there.
Right. Well, you only need to coach for 4 more years per player.
Yeah. I mean, you're not going to be there. And I always say this, but if I left tomorrow, whoever's coaching you, whatever school you go to, is going to apply for my job. So you're going to be out of coach. Don't worry about who's going to be there or not.
Well, I mean, I guess I'll ask you directly, like, are the thoughts of retirement more than they used to be? Are you seriously thinking about, okay, I want to walk away at some point?
I think everybody thinks that. I think everybody thinks at some point in your career, you're going to have to start making plans for what's coming next. I just haven't gotten there yet. And I don't know when that time will be.